Assalamualaikum, Madam.
Salam.
Kejap Madam, kita tunggu yang lain masuk. So, sebab kita buat link baru kan, jadi kena tunggu sikit lah. Lambat sikit untuk yang lain masuk. Tunggu moderator dan duration yang akan masuk. Madam dah makan ke?
Sorry?
Madam dah makan ke?
Dah.
Okay. Risau dia belum makan lagi. Sekejap Madam, kita tunggu yang lain.
Okay. Dah nampak dah.
Madam.
Ya.
Jadi, moderator dah masuk, tapi kita akan start program dalam 8.20 lah macam tu. So, sementara tu kita tunggu dulu kat sini. Okay, thank you Madam.
Welcome.
Oh my god. Hi madam.
Hello.
Madam dah makan ke?
Dah, suami saya suruh saya makan cepat. Suruh saya kena
Madam duduk area mana?
Seremban Road, S2
Oh,
Heights.
so like dekat je lah dengan Seremban.
Dekat dengan apa?
Dekat dengan UiTM Seremban.
Dekat. Pastinya dekat. Tapi saya dah
Sebelah
lama tak pergi UiTM Seremban.
Oh.
Sebab sebab line kalau nak buat classes semua, line internet kat sana kan tak berapa elok kan. So
Even
banyakkan
wifi pun?
wifi pun. Lagilah kalau sebab ada lecturer kata hari tu dia buat meeting pakai itu pakai Google Meet ke whatever kind of platform kan. Tapi dia pakai internet UiTM is very bad lah. So buat meeting pun dah macam tu. Masa tu bukannya ada kelas ke. It's just one meeting yang time student tengah cuti. Bayangkan kalau macam kelas ada and then macam semua serentak pakai. So memang nak advisable lah. Lagi-lagi ada yang kejadian viral tu kan, yang student ramai kena COVID tu. So it's a good thing juga lah kot. Ada kawan korang yang kena kat kampus?
Kontak rapat tu adalah kot. Kena quarantine.
Tapi korang diberi pilihan untuk pergi
Untuk
kampus
balik.
ataupun tak?
Diberi pilihan. So macam siapa nak balik, akan ada macam one form untuk isi kenapa nak balik semua tu. So UiTM akan tengok lah.
Okay. Good for you guys. Saya tengok slide saya takut slide saya lari.
Okay.
Nervous.
Test 1, 2, 3. Okay. The presentation is about to begin. For today's session, we highly recommend everyone to switch on cameras. We would also like to remind everyone to stay mute to make sure the flow of the event goes smoothly. You can use the chat box if you like to chat with us. However, please refrain from using harsh language and be more accepting and open throughout the session to maintain a safe space for everyone to interact. A reminder, make sure to stay throughout the session and fill in the feedback forms at the end of session in order to receive the e-certificate from us. The feedback forms will be sent in the chat box before session ends. Honorable Madam Emirzana binti Abu Hasim, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. On this special occasion, we would like to have a talk about the Malaysian University English Test or Muet, where the objective of this program is to give exposure to all of you about the administrative details and test taking strategies on how to get band 4 and above. Again, greetings and welcome everyone for today's talk show. First and foremost, we would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who joined us today. Before we move on, let me introduce myself. My name is Farhana Atika Ahmad Suhaimi, and I'm a final year administrative science student at UiTM Campus Seremban. Without further ado, let me introduce our speaker for today. She's Madam Emirzana binti Abu Hasim, who is also a lecturer and Muet coordinator in UiTM Changan 9 Campus Seremban since 2014. She's also an official Muet examiner, and we would like to thank her for taking time to attend this event. To begin the event with blessing from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, I would like to invite Alif Haikal bin Saiful to lead the Dua recitation.
Dengan wudhu kita Al-Fatihah. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil arrahmanirrahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala wasallam ajma'in. Ya Karim ya Wadud, sungguh kami berhimpun pada ini bagi menyatakan kesyukuran di atas kurniaan-Mu yang tidak ternilai. Jadikanlah kami hamba-hamba-Mu yang sentiasa bersyukur sama ada nikmat yang sedikit, lebih-lebih lagi nikmat yang melimpah ruah pada kami. Ya Allah ya Rahman ya Rahim, Engkau berkatilah dan rahmatilah perjalanan majlis Talkshow Muet 1.0 pada hari ini. Sesungguhnya Engkau Maha mengetahui bahawa kami di sini ingin menimba ilmu-Mu yang sangat luas bagi mengembangkan ilmu pengetahuan kami sebagai hamba-Mu yang Engkau redai. Justru berkati dan rahmatilah pimpinan kami. Kurniakanlah kepada kami ilmu-Mu, sinarilah hati-hati kami dengan cahaya dan hidayah-Mu. Semoga dengan ini kami mudah menerima dan menghayati serta mengamalkannya. Ya Zal Jalal wal Ikram, kurniakanlah juga kepada kami kesihatan anggota, kecergasan minda, ketenangan jiwa, kekuatan semangat. Semoga dengan kami mampu menepati cabaran, berdaya saing dan mampu mengangkat martabat diri, keluarga, masyarakat dan negara. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wasallam walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Amin, 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 ya Rabbal Alamin. Without wasting our time, I would like to invite Madam Emirzana to start the session. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Miss Moderator, Miss Farhana. All right, so welcome to the talk show. So I have been invited to give a talk. So I hope we can all be like super cash on this. So I'll be mixing Malay here and there. You know, sometimes I just want to avoid being too formal because this is not a class. So I want to mix Malay and English. So anyways, for this talk, I will, of course, explain about the latest format. I'm not sure if all of you know, but Muet has been adapting a new format since last year, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, with the pandemic and everything, UiTM Seremban has not expose our students with the format, the latest format. So it's a good opportunity for our students to join this talk so that they know what to expect in the latest Muet format. All right. So let me just share my screen. Okay, we have to wait for a while because it's hang sikit. Alright, just for your information, dearest attendees, Muet examination, okay, otherwise known as Malaysian University English Test, right, has not been reviewed for almost 20 years actually. So the last review of the format was actually in 1999. Right, so this new format is somewhat new. In certain components of Muet, it is easier, but in one or two components, we challenge student to to a certain level, because we need to see the level of proficiency our students have, right? So the this new format is not that much. It does not have much change, but it will definitely open a lot of eyes, because it is not that easy anymore. Because for many years already that we already know how to tackle that Muet examination. This time around is going to be different, all right? Because it is new, so we need to make sure that we understand what is the function of each test, right? Each of the assessment. Okay. I'm sorry, but I have problem with my laptop. Fana, is it okay if I because it's my Google Chrome is hanging here. It's not responding because I'm trying to share my tab, but then it got stuck and we are not moving anywhere now.
So like madam ada the slides or I mean like in term of PDF ke? So
I have the slides. I mean, I already uploaded. I mean, it's already at my tab, the internet, the Google Chrome tab. But then I cannot open it because it's the Google Chrome itself is hang. So, I wait. Can I just leave and join back? Is that okay? What's must be
dah ada
improving.
madam.
Hmm?
This one ke slide madam?
I shared the slides kan, but I can't. It's fine. I mean, memang korang boleh buka, but the page is stuck. Basically, the page is stuck. I tak boleh nak gerak. So I have to close the Google Chrome. Sorry, YouTubers. Hold on.
I rasa madam just macam open the slide through madam punya phone and then the slides will be controlled by one of our technical punya.
Okay. That would be great. That
Alright.
would be great. Okay, hold on. Okay, kejap So, kesabaran itu perlu. To check my email. Okay. The technical AJK is going to control the slide, right? All right, let's begin. So for my presentation today, I will be talking about, of course, I will first give a background on Muet examination, and then I will go into the main components of Muet. I think in the advertisement just now, when you put it on before the attendees come in, you already shared the components, right? But those components are exactly the same as the ones that I have, except that the assessment itself, the kind of question is already it's changing a bit. There is a change in the questions as well as how it is carried out. Okay, so I will talk about the components. All right, and then I will talk about each component, of course, right? And with some of the components, I provide examples, but there are also parts that I cannot explain further because it's quite long and it would take much longer than the time that we have tonight. Okay, so I will try my best to be in detail of each component, and then after that I will talk about the tips and strategies that you can consider when you take your Muet later. All right, and then we are going to continue with our Q&A session. Okay, all right, so moving on to the introduction. So I think that most of the students who are attending this talk are diploma students, which is good because for UITM, the requirement for you to proceed to degree is to have a Muet result, right? So that means you need to know this even from part one. So shout out to my part one students if you are here. All right. So basically, Muet is taken by foreign and even local students in order for them to pursue their first degree studies in private or government universities in Malaysia, right? And it is to test your English proficiency upon completing tertiary education, right? So I guess if it's not too late for you guys, then you can start already, start using the language more so that you'll be more comfortable when you go for your Muet test later, right? And this is only one tips later that I will explain, right? And then the new syllabus and format of the Muet test is based on Common European Framework of Reference, or otherwise known as CEFR. And this CEFR is actually it's like a guide. It's like a guide, international guide towards teaching and learning the language. Okay, because I think if you have read our news, our the news in Malaysia, they actually there is a mention about our government is trying to move our students towards the standards of CEFR. So CEFR is international, and what we must understand is that it's not trying to change you into being like a first speaker, but with the pace that we are going through with the previous Muet, students are not going anywhere towards the language. They're not improving that much. They are not that much fluent. They are simply taking the Muet as as in its subject in like your SPM. And if you notice that in your SPM as well, or any kind of subject, usually they will give you like A, B, C, or D for the grade, but you don't know what the A stands for or the B stands for. And even if you have D for your English, what does that stands for? So CEFR, it's a different kind of they have a different kind of band for the student, and each of these band represents certain proficiency. All right, so if the AJK might move the slide to the next one, you can see I shared a CEFR global scale. So that is the one that I got from our education ministry. Okay, because that is the one that we are using to create our Muet examinations. Okay, so you can see that the language user and the level, and then you can see also the descriptors for each level. So we have basic users, and then we have independent users, and then we have proficient users. So each of these users, there is a description of at which level they are in terms of the words that they use, in terms of can they respond comprehensively, or can they actually provide more ideas, give more suggestions, be in a conversation comfortably. So all of this depends on the assessments itself. The assessment is going to be evaluated based on this CEFR global scale. Okay, so at least you know where you are at the international level. Okay, it's not ABCD anymore, because that has been going on for many years. So now we have to move forward, we have to move to the international level. While this is English, and we have to be at par. I mean, at certain point you have to move from your school years, where you don't use English, you simply study English just to score. This time around, I think you should use the language for your own benefit. So this CEFR, although it might seems like something challenging, but it's actually beneficial for you students, all right, so that you open your eyes to how important English language is. Okay, so now let's move to what are the main components of Muet. All right, so previously, each of the components, it has how do you say this, the marks for each of the component is different. Okay, the marks for each component is different, where reading test has the highest percentage of marks. And this time around, it is changed, where each of the components would have the same marks, 25%. Okay, so I'm not saying that is the total is 100%, but what I'm trying to say is each of the component is balanced, is fair in terms of the markings. All right. So we are with the components. We have listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and usually we would run the speaking test first. All right, because the speaking test would involve students to be in a group. So because of that, we need to get students to be placed in certain days, and the duration is 2 weeks, because it depends on whether the center has many candidates or not. Right, but most of the time, one center would have 2 weeks. Would have to use a full 2 weeks to run the speaking Muet test. Right. Now, usually we will start with speaking, and then I think around 3 weeks after that, 3 weeks after the speaking test, you will sit for the reading test, writing, and then listening. So the other three is going to run simultaneously, right? On the same day. Usually it is run like that lah. So speaking is usually is done first, and then we move on to reading, writing, and listening, the last one, right? And if you look at the next slide, which is the test score, that is how we are going to evaluate you. All right. So for speaking, reading, writing, and listening, the maximum score for each assessment for each component is 90. So the total is what we call as aggregated score. So the aggregated score of maximum aggregated score is 360. So based on these marks, we are going to look what band you have achieved. So previously, Muet, you know that we have band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4, band 5, and the highest is band 6, is considered that you are very proficient, right? But this time around, the band is adapted based on CEFR. Okay, so you can have a look that I have shared aggregated scores table. Okay, so in that table, you can see that if you, for all the 4 tests that you have done, and you score like somewhat in between 1 to 122, you are considered as basic. Okay, you are considered as basic. You will probably receive, your band is 2.5, right? But if you are much better, you have better control or better that means in terms of all the components you are average, then you are considered as considered as independent, and your marks would be around 123 to 293. So your band would be, if you know, if someone asks you what is the result of your Muet, then you will say that, oh, I got band 4, for example, or band 3.5. Okay, so that from 3, band 3 to 4.5 is considered as independent user. Okay, so we don't say that so it's not anymore like what did you get, band 3, band 4, band 5, band 6, not anymore, but we would consider that oh, you are band 4, so that means you are independent user. So that is the indicator that we are going to use now, from now on lah. Okay, now if you are very proficient with the language, then for all the 4 components, the total marks would be minimum 294 and the maximum would be 360. So this is band 5 or band 5 plus. Okay, we don't have band 6 anymore, right? So just FYI lah. Okay. Okay, so that is about basically the latest on Muet. Okay, so do not be afraid, okay, because you still have time. If you feel that Muet is getting harder for you to get higher band, then I guess you still have time, right? So let me just move on to explaining each of the components. Okay, so I will go by how the Muet is being run. So usually we start with speaking, and I will explain speaking first, of course. Okay, so for speaking test, for Muet speaking test, time allocated is 30 minutes for each group. I think that you can ask your seniors or any of your family members who have taken Muet, you can actually ask them their experience taking their Muet. Maybe it's different. Maybe it's different for them and now because of the format, but you can still ask them how was it when they took the Muet test, all right? Because it's not that much different, but there is a difference, all right? So I'm just going to explain here about speaking test. So the time is 30 minutes, and it still has 2 parts. Okay, it still has 2 parts. Part 1 is individual presentation, and then part 2 is group discussion, right? So for each part, you guys are going to still be in the same exam room. Okay, usually the exam is the MO is where the examiner is going to call the group, so you will come as a group. But when you sit, of course, you akan sit, at your where candidate A is, B is, C is, or D is, right? And there will be 2 examiners for speaking, right? And then for part 1, individual, you are going to speak based on a written prompt, all right? There will be a guide, or that means there will be a point that will be given to you, and you are supposed to talk about that point. And you are given 2 minutes to prepare and 2 minutes to present. Okay, so for the individual part, so this is where you are on your own. Okay, so if you are on your own, that means you need to work harder lah. And I guess it's kind of a luck thing. Sometimes you will get point that is easy for you. This is like ni makanan aku ni. So it's easy for you to actually talk about it in 2 minutes easily. But some of you guys, maybe it's, it's fate, and you get the kind of prompt that you don't know how to explain, then just try your best. Okay, so make sure that when you are preparing points, then try to use that time wisely. Okay, because 2 minutes to prepare is not for you to write sentences, but for you to just write points for you to talk. All right. Okay, so 2 minutes to present. This will be administered by the by the examiners. Okay. And then moving on to part 2 is group discussion. Now, previously in the old Muet format, during the group discussion, all of the members in the group, they are going to discuss the points that they have already presented in part 1. Okay, previously it was like that. But this time around, part 1 and part 2 is different. Part 1, you have to present your points, right, based on the written prompt. So part 1 is done, it's finished. It is not related to part 2 anymore, because part 2 will be a different question. Okay, it will be a different question, but it will be one question, but for all four or all those in the group to discuss. Okay, so part 1 is finished in part 1. Okay, whatever that you have done is not going to be used in part 2 anymore. Right, so in part 2 you are going to do a group discussion. You have to do a group discussion based on a written question, and 5 prompts will be given in the form of a mind map. Okay, it will be given in the form of mind map, and you have 3 minutes to prepare. And if you are 4 to a group, that means in the group has 4 members or candidates, then you are given 12 minutes to discuss. Okay, and sometimes there will not be 4 people to a group. Sometimes there are only 3 candidates, then the time will be lesser. And there have been times where we also have 2 only members to a group, then the time will of course be much lesser than those in 3 to a group. Okay, all right, so I give actually a sample of the kind of question, okay, the kind of question that you can expect. All right, so I actually give for part A, there is a question, there is a prompt for candidate A, B, C, and D. I give this in the slide. So if you look at candidate A, the situation is all the same for all candidates. Okay, but each of them will have a different suggestion or different point to talk. Okay, so for example, candidate A, in part 1, for 2 minutes, you are supposed to talk about the importance of what and when people eat. So you are going to just talk about what and when people eat, and of course this would involve diet, and maybe you want to talk about the pyramid of food and what you should eat more, what you should eat less, what you should never eat, and why is it important for you to not overeat, and why it's important that you don't binge eating. Okay, so of course being a lecturer, everything is in the head kan. All right, so for candidate A, for 2 minutes, you are supposed to talk about what and when people eat. But if you are candidate B, okay, we look at B, the written prompt for candidate B is talk about the importance of exercise. Okay, so if you like to exercise, probably this is kacang for me lah. All right, then you just talk about moving around, make sure that you are active as early as in the morning, and make sure that of course when you exercise you hydrate yourself a lot as well. And when you exercise, you have to remember that it must be accompanied by a diet, then only it will work well. Contohlah macam tu. So for this kind, for part 1, the individual presentation, you can either give your opinion, you can explain the point there, the topic that is being given, or you can just justify. Okay, you can just justify. So there are many ways for you to talk about that point. Okay, it can be anything as long as you talk it in within 2 minutes. All right. All right. So move on. Let's look at candidate C. What does candidate C have? Okay. So candidate A have to talk about eating. Candidate B have to talk about exercise, and then candidate C, the importance of seeing the doctor regularly. Okay, so candidate C, maybe if this is your point, then you will be like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? I don't see doctor regularly. I just take Panadol and I buy my cough syrup from pharmacy. Nevertheless, this is a test. If that is the question that you get, then you have to answer. All right. So just try to make up points or explain why you need to see doctors regularly. So maybe you can say that the doctors are more professional. They know what they are doing, and if you have questions about your sickness, you can always ask them and ask them thoroughly so that they can explain to you thoroughly, right? So the importance of seeing the doctor, make sure that you can also talk about your opinion. Well, in my opinion, I don't really see doctors a lot because I don't get sick, contohnya lah. Okay, but if you want to say that I do see doctors regularly because sometimes I feel that I have fever and I do have allergy reaction, so I would see doctors regularly just to ask about my allergy problem. Contoh, okay. All right. Next, if you look at candidate D. All right, candidate D. The written prompt is the importance of getting enough rest. Okay, so if we were to talk about getting enough rest in 2 minutes, maybe you can talk about power nap for what, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And it's important to not just sleep, but also to make sure that you do other kinds of resting methods, such as apa kita panggil tu, meditating, such as taking a break, like maybe go for a walk, ataupun maybe you want to say that meet up with friends. So it's when we say getting enough rest, that means we take our mind and our physically and mentally away from our work and our stress. So that means you have to get rest. So rest does, if you were to ask me, if I were to use these 2 minutes, I would say that in my opinion, I don't think rest is only about nap and sleep. Then you have to explain lah what is your opinion about getting enough rest. Okay. So for part one, candidate A, B, C, and D, each of you are going to receive different points and you have to only talk about your points. Okay, kalau boleh jangan cakap pasal point orang lain lah. So kalau candidate C, your point is about meeting your doctors regularly, make sure you don't talk about your friend's point pasal exercise ke, jangan cakap pasal point makan apa seimbang ke. Alright, try to just focus on your point, right? Okay, so that is about part one of speaking. And then part two, I also share here the example of question that you can expect to see when you do your group discussion. So everyone is going to receive the same question, all right? And they give you 5 prompts. So you nampak kat situ mind map and then ada pecahan kan 5. So those are what we call as prompt. Maksudnya dia bagi you point untuk cakap and you akan gunakan point tersebut untuk you buat group discussion. Okay, so 5 prompts are given. Is basically like a suggestion and you are supposed to decide the best way to answer the question lah. So in the case of this sample that I use, the question is, how can healthcare best be provided, right? So there are 5 ways given in the prompt and you are supposed to decide the best way to improve healthcare, right? So you are supposed to discuss and, I think with the 5 points given, it's actually enough already. But if you read the instruction, they actually mention you may use these ideas or come up with your own ideas. That's fine. All right. I'm guessing if you can come up with your own ideas, maybe you can move up your band a bit. That means you I mean, based on your proficiency, maybe you have that ability or that advantage of giving your own ideas, so you can actually add your own ideas. Okay, but please do not do not be demotivated by this, because with these 5 points you can actually talk a lot. You can talk a lot. You can actually take 1 point, education. Just take one and then talk about the advantage, talk about the disadvantages, and then you ask your friend, do you agree with me? So during group discussion, this is where you have to understand group discussion means you have to talk to other people. Okay, you cannot control the discussion by dominating. That's it. By dominating the discussion and expecting people to just agree with you. If that is the case, then other candidates, they are not going to talk, or they will hold back, or they will just become quiet. And you know what? When you are dominating that conversation or that discussion, you can be penalized. Okay? You can be penalized because you are not encouraging your other candidates to be in the group discussion. Because the objective of the discussion is to decide the best way to improve healthcare. So that means that best decision should be achieved in the group discussion among the candidates, right? So you have to make sure that if you see the other candidates not having the chance to talk, or maybe he or she is quite shy, you have to help them. Okay, you have to be the prompt now. Okay, the prompt is in there in the paper, but maybe they don't. Maybe they are trying very hard to trying to form the sentences, and they just are not focused. Then you have to help them. You be the prompt for them to start talking, start to participate in the discussion, right? So group discussion is actually um, s- how can we you need to make sure, you just need to make sure that you don't talk too much. Okay, the point is for group discussion, don't talk too much. Okay, it's going to save you, trust me. Okay, so moving on. Reading. So we are done with speaking, right? We are done with speaking. So the next test that you are going to take in Muet is reading. Okay, so reading in the previous format, in the old format, we only have 6 parts. Okay, and of course it is multiple choice, but this time around we have 7 parts, right? I shared a table there with you, and you can see that we have the test part, we have the length of the test, the question type, and the number of question. Okay, so some parts, I think there's only one. Yeah, there's only one part where you have to write the answer, but then it's not a long answer. It's just like one word, or maybe just an indicator. Probably the question would be like, which paragraph says this statement, which paragraph says this statement. So you just write paragraph 3, paragraph 4. That is for part 1. Okay, and for part 2 and part 3, you will have to read texts, and you will have MCQ questions. All right, and each of the MCQ question would have 3 options of answer. Okay, and then you have part 4. Okay, so part 4 is 2 independent texts. Okay, where you will ask with the first text first, you will have the questions, and then the second text, you will have its own question, and then the third part is where they are going to ask questions that relate these 2 texts. Okay, so that is part 4. All right. Now the next one is part 5. So part 5, you will be given a text, but there will be six sentences missing. Okay, so you will receive this text, and then there will be like a gap line, and there's supposed to be a sentence that fills the line. Okay, and then you will also see under the text, you will see there are choices of sentences. They will give you 7. Okay, there are only 6 needed, and the other one will be something just optional over there, right? So you are supposed to fill in each of these blanks with the correct answer. Okay, so that will be 6. Okay, 6 missing sentences. Now the last one is part 6 and 7, and there are 2 texts. Okay, and it is much longer, and as you can see that is getting longer, right? And each of the questions is MCQ, and it has 4 options of answers. Okay, so for reading, I think that the justification is that we try to make students um, to be out of focus, because if we were to put everything in MCQ, that would be a problem as well, because reading is tough. Okay, maybe it looks like it is easy because it has choices of answers. Okay, but actually reading, if you were to ask me, I would rather write an essay than do reading, but of course you don't have any choice, right? So for reading, the challenge is for you to choose the right answer, because sometimes people just like to twist the answers in the options given. So you have to make sure that you read and you understand. Okay, comprehension part of a reading is very important, right? Okay, so next, reading is done. So this is one of the component that I cannot explain much because it is quite long. There is part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 7. So that's quite long, right? And if you feel that you need to see what kind of questions, then you should buy the book, right? I don't write Muet book. I mean, not yet, inshallah, later on. But if you want to see the sample, then you can buy the book. Okay, it's already in bookstores already. Okay, so we are done with speaking. I have explained to you about reading. Okay, hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Farhana, we okay?
Cool.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to the third component, which is writing. If you were to ask me, my favorite part of English is actually writing. Okay, because I do read a lot, and I just have a lot of these fictional characters and ideas, and I just like to write stories, I guess. So from word writing, finally we there have been talks about changing writing in Muet, actually. There have been talks about inserting writing letters or email. So this time around, the format of Muet is changed to where you are going to write a response to an email, respond to an email in task 1. And the response is, because email, if you have learned how to write email ni sebenarnya bila kita tulis, it's supposed to be short, right? It's supposed to be short because email is like instant message, so it should not be long. So that's why when you are supposed to respond or write this email in the writing test, you are supposed to write in at least 100 words. So that's not much, people. If I were to write, I would write a paragraph of 300 words. So to me, this is very hard for me to control, right? But for you, probably this is helping you so much. And it's 100 words plus you will get the notes on what to write. Okay? You will get notes on what to write, and you just write based on the note. That's it. You don't have to think much. So that's the beauty of task 1. So I think that will be a relief if you are only taking the Muet now, sebab siapa yang ambil Muet dulu tu dia macam penat sikit lah, sebab dia kena tulis 2 essay. So it's kind of maybe to some of you guys who don't like writing, so it's kind of annoying, right? But this time around, email, around 100 words only, and you will be given notes on what to write. So there shouldn't be a problem. The only problem would be, if you're not good with grammar, then probably your sentences will not be that nice. It's not organized. But if it's not, then I think the challenge would be to write less. Because if people are good in that language, their problem would be, to write less, I guess. Okay. And then if you look at task 2, okay, so task 1 is for you to write an email, okay, a response of 100 to 135 words. And task 2, this one is the same as the previous Muet, where you are supposed to write a continuous writing of kat sini, of an essay. It's either you are writing in a discursive type of essay, argumentative, or a problem solution essay, depending on the topic or the issue or the question being asked. All right. So for continuous writing, at least 250 words. Okay, so continuous means here that please have paragraphs. Okay, I think that by the time you take your Muet, I think you already know that essay should have paragraphs, and it's not like one continuous writing from one page to the second page and to the third. It should have paragraphing. And I think by then, when you take Muet, you already know how to organize your writing, how to organize your ideas, right? So for the second task, this is where you are going to write a full essay. Okay, the first one, task 1 is writing a response to an email, which is a short one. But for task 2, this is a full essay. Okay, so I actually provide a sample of a question for task 1. So you can see, are we sharing it? Ada kita share components of Muet writing. So in the slide, I share with you a sample of a question, but the question is in the form of an email. So you're supposed to read the email, and when you write, you are responding to that email. Okay, so you can see the email there. The sender is Maran Siga. The receiver is James. The subject is historical places to visit. And then this apa nama ni? This Maran Siga is talking about what? He wants James to talk about tell the story of historical events. Yada yada yada. And you can look on the right, there are notes. Okay, notes there. How is life in the bustling city? Describe. And then in the next line, can you name some of these places? Tell Maran. And then the next one is describe. Describe as in, is it possible to describe some of the historical events in these places so that I can choose which one to visit? And then the next one, the question is, can you recommend a clean one? And you're supposed to suggest and give reasons. In previous Muet, we don't have this kind of prompt. Kita tak ada prompt yang macam ni. Alright, but this time bila dia bagi notes, so maksudnya bila awak jawab, you are supposed to describe how's life. So you akan jawab lah macam mana hidup you dalam bandar yang sibuk. And then you have to tell Maran dalam you punya jawapan tu, dalam 100 perkataan tu, you have to describe how's your life. You have to tell Maran, name some of the places, and then you have to describe these places, and then you are supposed to give suggestion and give your reasons on a hostel, okay, that is near historical attractions. Okay, so all of these 4 things you are supposed to write in your email of response within 100 words. Okay, so it's easy already because you already know what to write. You already know what to answer and what to respond. Okay, just make sure that you are within the word limit. That's all. Okay, so that is your task 1. Now, if you look at the sample for task 2, okay, task 2 is basically like an essay, full essay. So this is the question. The switch to online learning due to the pandemic. So this is very current. The switch to online learning due to the pandemic has posed several challenges to teachers and students alike. Describe some of these challenges and ways to overcome them. You have to write an essay of at least 250 words. So you know what? I think later on, if you have passed part 3, I guess. If you have not, then later in part 3, for UiTM students, you will learn how to write the outline for an essay. So please apply that when you are taking your Muet writing task 2 later, because having an outline is going to help you write in focus. You are not going to simply babble, because if you don't have outline, when you are writing an essay, usually you will have a lot to say during the first and second paragraph, and then it start to become lesser and lesser, where paragraph 3 and 4 you would have less lines in your paragraph. So that is not nice to look at, and it shows that you are not organized and your ideas are basically not not being brainstormed to the fullest. So bila kita buat outline, it's very important that you have an outline essay. Is going to show you how much you are going to write. Okay, so for the essay part, make sure that you write by answering the question. So the question here says, describe some of these challenges. So you have to mention what are the challenges and ways to overcome them. So usually what you can do is maybe you can provide 3 challenges, and then for each of this challenge, you just provide one way to overcome. Okay, so that will be easy lah. It will be more than 250 words, trust me. Okay, because I think I mentioned this with my students. It's not the problem is for you to start writing. Sometimes you would think like, how am I going to start writing? But once you start writing, the problem is for you to stop. Sometimes you do not know how to stop, and that is where you go over the word limit. And when you go over the word limit, this is where you have problem editing and trying to just get rid of points that you don't need. So then the essay is not going to look nice. So take my advice, do the outline first before you write your essay. Okay, so next, so we are done about writing. Okay, next would be the components of Muet. Listening, the last one, listening. So for your ITM English syllabus, ELC syllabuses, we test students on listening a lot, especially in part 1. Okay, we do that in part 2 as well. And listening is important. Very, very important. Some people think that listening is just something like, oh, okay, listen to a song, listen to the lecturer teaching, listen to your friends talking. But maybe you are just hearing them, but you are not listening. I hope you understand this, because listening means you try to catch what they are talking about and you respond to that. If you are hearing, you are simply looking at that person, or just lebih kurang macam masuk telinga kanan, keluar telinga kiri. You don't expect to respond. But if you are listening to something, you have to respond. So the objective of the listening test in Muet is, of course, for you to respond by answering the questions. Okay. Alright, so I share with you this table, where in this table it is describing the parts in the listening test. Okay, so there are 5 parts. So the part 1 is a dialogue. Okay, and you will have multiple choice questions, and there are 3 options of answers. So there are 7 questions. So each of these question is, the level is A2 to B1. Maksudnya tak susah sangat soalan dia. Dia macam untuk level user dengan basic lah. Level basic. Okay. And then we move on to part 2. As you go to towards the end of the listening question, is going to be much more difficult lah. So awak nampak yang dekat kotak yang hujung tu, number of question, they actually give you the level of proficiency expected Okay, ataupun dia punya soalan tu based on that proficiency level. So mungkin part 5 tu dia dah start macam susah sikit. Maybe they will have like a summary kind of question. Dia dah minta awak buat macam analysis sikit ke. Okay, maybe it's a bit different. But still the questions are all answered in MCQ. So selamatlah sikit. Tak ada lagi ruang-ruang kosong untuk kita tulis jawapan. Okay, everything will be MCQ. Okay, so part 2 is a monologue. Okay, it's a monologue. And then part 3 is monologue of 3 speakers. Alright. And then we have part 4 dialogue and part 5 is short dialogue. Okay. So short dialogue dekat sini bila dia kata 250 to 300 words per dialogue, maksudnya akan ada tak salah saya ada 3 short dialogues. Okay. So for listening, make sure that you, because it will be run the same way where you are going to listen to the audio once and then you are going to listen to the audio again. So each of the audio being played will be played twice. Okay. So I think that for this listening test, make sure that when you get the test paper, if you can, if the examiner allows, read the question first. Read all the questions first so that at least you have an idea what to expect to what kind of audio would you expect to listen to. Okay. So that is all about the components of Muet test. Okay, from speaking, reading, writing, as well as listening. Okay, so all of these 4 components is being tested in order for us to see that whether you can use whatever it is that you have learned, whatever it is that regarding the language that you can say comfortably in whatever environment that you are in. Okay, and especially with speaking, we try to teach students to being able to be comfortable in expressing their ideas, expressing their opinions in using by using English. Okay, and by reading, it will show that how fast or how accurate can you understand each of the texts that you are reading. Okay, and for writing, we would look at how expressive you are, right? How good are you with your vocabulary, with your sentence structure, and how well do you organize your ideas? And for listening, of course, by looking at how many corrects you have, it will show that your listening part, that means you can listen attentively. You listen with objective. You listen with focus. All right. So all this will be shown by the answers that you get and by the aggregated scores that you get for each component. Okay. All right. So now we come to the next part of this talk show, which is ta-da, tips and strategies for Moat candidates. Okay, this is not just for Moat, but I guess we can we can use it for Moat. The ones that I provide here is in general, but based on my experience evaluating students. Okay, for speaking, my suggestion for you is to not write sentences during the preparation time, but write points. Because if you write sentences, you are already wasting your time. Write points. And from that point, you just elaborate, pecahkan lagi points. So you will see the point, then you can use that to talk. Not write sentences. Because what happened is, if you are given time to prepare, you write sentences, and then the examiner said, okay, you have 2 minutes to prepare, you have 2 minutes to present. So you are going to read that sentence, and once those sentences you wrote, you have presented everything, then you will be blanked. You will be blanked because you don't write more. You don't write more points during the preparation time. So for me, during the speaking preparation time, please write points and not sentences. Okay, so itu tips saya untuk you punya speaking. And individual, for group discussion, if you are good, help the ones who are have difficulty or you can see that is not active in the discussion. You have to help. You will get point if you help. You will get point, and you will lose point if you dominate that group discussion and you refuse to let other people express their opinions or ideas. Okay, it is group discussion, it is not all about you. Okay, right? So make sure that during the group discussion, encourage everyone to participate. Okay, encourage everyone to participate. All right, and if you are good, then try to lighten up by making jokes. That's fine. I think that's fine with group discussion. Okay, it's not just full about we have to discuss this, we have to discuss this. Try to make joke if you can, right? If you can, right? So that is about speaking. Now for reading, you will probably receive the question later first. So I would suggest you to do the same thing for reading as well. Read the question first. Okay, read the question for each part because reading ada 7 part kan? Yes, there are 7 parts for reading. So for each part, read the question first. At least you have an idea of what they want from the text. Then only you read the text. Okay, so when you are reading the text, this is where what you learn is going to come in. The skimming, the scanning, the highlighting part, the topic sentences, the supporting details, the introduction paragraph, the conclusion paragraph, everything should be applied and used when you are trying to look for answers. Okay, it's going to cut the time short and you can use a lot of time for other parts pula. Okay, alright, so that is for reading. Okay, and for writing, I think I mentioned this before. Make sure that you always, I think this should be applied for all components. Make sure that you read the questions carefully. There are too many candidates that already make this kind of mistakes where they do not read instruction. When you don't read instruction, you are not going to do the examination or assessment according to how it was supposed to be done. Okay, so make sure you read instruction, listen to the examiners when they give you instruction, and make sure you understand. If you don't understand, you can ask them. Jangan takut untuk tanya examiner. Don't be afraid. Diorang tu orang juga. And they are probably teachers anyways. So you can ask them if you don't understand. Okay, they are going to explain to you menggunakan perkataan yang lebih senang. Don't worry. If you have any question or any words that you don't understand, contohlah any words you don't understand, you can ask them. Tanya je. Okay, tanya sahaja. Alright, so for reading, apply whatever that you have learned in part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4 ke, alright, and make sure that you will use every single reading skills that you have learned and use that when you are answering your Muet reading test. Okay. Okay, so that is about reading. And finally, when we for writing, we are already moving to writing kan sebenarnya. Okay, so for writing, make sure that you read the questions, understand, and please make sure that you answer only what they wanted you to answer. So macam tadi ada soalan yang email tu, they give you notes and you're supposed to only write according to the notes sahaja. Jangan tulis benda-benda yang selain daripada note tu. And then for task 2, you're supposed to write an essay of challenges and ways to overcome. Then you only talk about challenges and ways to overcome. Okay, you tak payahlah nak promosi lah line internet ni ke, line internet tu ke. That is already lari daripada fokus lah. Okay, and make sure when you are writing your essay bagi saya lah, if you were to ask me, bagi saya essay sekurang-kurangnya 5 perenggan. 250 words, 5 perenggan. Perenggan introduction, first body paragraph, second body paragraph, third body paragraph, and the conclusion paragraph. Bagi saya, you ada 5 paragraph ni cantik. Okay, but if you think you want to write shorter, then boleh je introduction paragraph, 1 body paragraph, 2 body paragraphs, and 1 conclusion paragraph pun cantik juga, tak ada masalah. Okay, as long as you have paragraphs in your task 2. Okay, alright. Another way for you to add more marks, nak markah tambahan untuk writing, untuk setiap perenggan ataupun in your writing lah, in your essay nanti, make sure you pakai transitional markers. Okay, contohnya macam perenggan ke perenggan kan. Firstly, secondly, lastly, okay, in conclusion, make sure that you use transitional markers. Transitional markers akan memberikan markah lebih because that is an indicator that you are organised in your writing. Okay, and of course with transitional markers, make sure awak letakkan linking words jugalah, macam dalam perenggan kan, contohnya macam furthermore ke, in addition ke, other than that, in contrast, tak ada masalah. Okay, the more you use, I mean, I'm not saying that you have to use it for every sentence. No, just limit lah. Mungkin satu perenggan satu linking word pun cantik. You know, these things is supposed to make your writing looks nice. You see, nice and organized, right? So that is about writing. And tips for listening, I think I mentioned this just now already. If you get the paper and you are allowed, then read the question first. Okay, read the question first. And whatever it is, you punya kertas soalan tu, kertas soalan yang ada pilihan jawapan tu, you boleh conteng ke atas tu. You conteng lah. Jangan conteng dekat kertas kertas OMR tu. Jangan conteng dekat situ. You conteng kat kertas soalan tu. Whatever notes that you need to write, you just write there. Okay, because some student dia rasa macam dia boleh dengar and just jawab terus kan. If you can do that, then that's fine. That's good for you. But if not, then you can use that paper and just write your answer on that paper. Okay, so those are the tips. And the ones that I give in the slide, well, that is basically tips and strategies in general. Okay, so kalau kita nak improve before the day of the test untuk speaking, so start using the language, you know, talk dengan mak bapak awak pun tak apa, cakap je dalam English. Dia nak jawab ke dalam English, nak jawab bahasa Melayu ke, lantak depa, yang penting you cakaplah dalam bahasa English. Kalau you nak cakap dengan adik-adik you ke saja, nak naikkan kemarahannya, cakap je dalam English. Use English in your daily conversation. Okay, or when you talk to your friends, just use English. If you want to laugh, if you find it awkward, just, you know what, let it be. Because if you don't start using the language, you are not going to be better. Okay, you have studied English from primary school to secondary school, and you think, why have I not improved in my, in English? Well, it's because you don't use it. So start using the language. Okay, just use it. I know that a lot of students have already used English in their posts, like, in their Instagram post ke, Facebook ke. So that's good. But this time around, use it in your speech, in the speaking part there. Okay, tulis is one different thing. Okay, but actually speaking the language, okay, let me just put this easily lah. Masa awak baby, awak belajar bahasa dengan cara menulis ke? Tak kan? You start dengan you dengar. You listen and then you start to, have the baby talk, and then you ikut environment. So environment you, mak you banyak cakap bahasa Melayu, then you start to cakap bahasa Melayu. Bukan you start dengan, bahasa Melayu. Okay, you tulis. No, it's not like that. You start with listening first and then you go to speaking. So this is what you should do. You should pair this up by speaking and then listen to what that other person is talking, respond to that person. This is how you improve listening and speaking, people. Alright. So other than that, you can also listen to English radio talk shows. Cuba faham apa yang diorang cakap. Ataupun kalau you nak, you boleh dengar stand-up comedies. Mungkin talk show tu boring kan, buat mengantuk. You dengarlah stand-up comedies macam Hari Iskandar ke. Dekat Netflix banyak sangat stand-up comedy. Cuba faham lawak yang diorang cuba nak sampaikan. Can you get the jokes? So this is how you improve. Because English is not our language. It's their language. So we are supposed to understand them according to their culture pun boleh juga, you know. So you can watch talk shows, listen to English songs, decent English songs. Macam saya dulu saya suka dengar rapping, macam tu. So if you listen to rap songs, dia akan buat you macam practice nak cakap cepat juga kan. So in a way you practice your speaking as well. But if you don't like that kind of songs, then there are many oldies but goldies songs, lagu-lagu lama yang language dia cantik and mudah untuk awak belajar, right? And this kind of songs also you can use for you to improve your speaking as well as your listening. Okay. Now for reading and writing, now when you have done all of this, listening, speaking and reading, writing should come along easily. That was the tip I give there. Okay, sebab bila kita read, when you read, you are exposed to the sentence structure, you are exposed to how tenses are being used. Okay, and this is of course a good opportunity for you to learn new vocabularies, okay, by reading. So when you are reading, make sure you have a dictionary nearby, okay, because you will find words that are new to you ataupun you pernah come across but then you forgot the meaning, so you should have a dictionary nearby. Well, in case you don't have a dictionary, the hard copy of a dictionary, then I think everyone has dictionary application in their phone, then that should help. Okay, and please find reading materials that are legit. Okay, because these kind of reading materials would have less grammar or tenses error. Okay, so contohnya macam apa magazine macam Reader's Digest. In fact, kalau you if you know, then actually you boleh beli Reader's Digest dengan harga RM10 sahaja. RM10 sahaja dengan kita, we have actually a lecturer selling the magazines to student for RM10. Majalah tu harga dia RM15. Okay, tapi kita boleh beli dengan harga RM10. So Reader's Digest is a very good source for reading, to improve your reading skills. Okay, and then you can also read articles. Okay, articles can be any kind of articles about current issues, news, right? Or you can also read novels. Okay, buku-buku cerita lah. Macam zaman saya dulu, saya suka baca SVH, Sweet Valley High, zaman-zaman sekolah kan. Alright, so those kind of books are the ones I read, and that actually helped me to improve my writing. Okay, so find your reading material and try to stick to it. Okay, as well as improving other skills as well, like listening and speaking. Okay, all right, so I think that is what I need to say about Muet. Okay, so let me just recapture everything that I have talked about. So I have explained to you and exposed to you the latest format of Muet, which is based on Cefr framework. Right? And then I explained to you about the components and each marks being given and how you are being evaluated. I also explain where each component has different parts, and each of them has a different kind of questions. And at the end of my presentation just now, I give you the tips and strategies, right? So those are the points that I have presented and I have provided. So I guess now I can pass back the session to our moderator, Ms. Farhana. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, our speaker, Madam Emirzana, for giving us such fruitful answers and great discussion on Muet. Now, let's move on to Q&A sessions, and participants can send their questions through the chat box, and we will entertain 3 to 4 questions or more. The more the merrier, right? So before that, please do keep in mind to not ask any sensitive question or triggering questions, and be respectful with questions. So we will start with the questions that we have collected through Google Form.
Okay.
So the first question. can I know the new format of Muet?
I'm sorry, I just have to laugh.
Yeah.
but 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 that has already been explained, right?
Yeah.
The new format.
Yeah, probably like
It's not, okay. I just add a bit. It's not much different. It's not much different. Okay. I'll just give you the comparison between the old format and the new format. For speaking, um, for part one, it's still the same individual presentation. Part two is also still group discussion. It's just that part one and part two is not related anymore. Different questions. Okay, so that is for speaking. All right, because previously in the old format, part one and part two is related. Okay, so for reading, uh, previously there were only 6 parts. Okay, there were only 6 parts where you have multiple choice answers as well. Is the same, but this time around for the reading test, you are given 7 parts. Sorry, there are 7 parts, and each of these parts would have a different kind of questions. Okay, and then for writing, this time around for task one, you are supposed to write email, and it is prompts are given in the form of notes, so it is much easier. And for part two, it remains the same. Sama dia macam writing Muet test yang dulu, where you are supposed to write a continuous writing. That means an essay, minimum of 250 words. And for listening, previously in the old Muet format, the listening part, there are questions with blanks, and you're supposed to write 3 to 5 words minimum in the blanks given. But this time around for the listening, everything will be MCQ. Okay, multiple choice answers will be given. So that is the difference between the old format and the new format. I hope I have answered the question.
All right. Definitely you answered the question. Thank you, madam. The second question is from Nurul Shahida. Usually when a diploma student must take Muet, does it have a specific semester or time?
Actually, this depends on the university. All right, different university would have different requirement. I would use my experience here. Okay, during my experience, I took my Muet. This was like what, in 2009. Okay, I took my Muet on the last semester of my degree. But for UiTM students now, what I know is that you are supposed to have a Muet. You have to have a Muet result before you go to your degree. So, as time goes by, probably different universities would have different requirement and different way they run, how they deal with students when it comes to Muet. So, I cannot actually give a confirmation on which semester, but I think there are students who actually took, I have students who took Muet in part two, and then they say that they wanted to take the Muet in part two because if they get a bad band, then they can improve and they can take it again in part four or before they graduate or something like that. So my advice is that please take it maybe in part three, at least in part three. Starting part three. Don't take in part one or part two. I just don't want you to jump into the pool without looking and without preparing. You see, because you need to prepare yourself. All right. Maybe you are already good. I'm not denying any candidates that who have a high proficiency level, but I'm just saying that just relax. At least prepare yourself with the confidence, presenting in front of your friends and lecturers. Maybe you are good in the language, but maybe you have to work on certain parts in the language, like maybe the writing part or the grammar. Just just prepare yourself. Okay, so start taking Muet in part 3 because I do have a lot of part 3 students taking the Muet examination. Okay, right.
All right. So we move on to next question from Ayin Sophia. When will we use the certificate? Like, is this certificate only useful for 4 years or more?
Oh, okay. If you are taking the Muet, once you receive the result, okay, the date stated on the result, you can use it for 5 years. It's only valid for 5 years. Is that the question?
Yes. Meaning here, if like in the next 5 years, I'm going um have another degree. So meaning here, I have to take like Muet again.
Probably it's in the 6 years and then you're supposed to have a Muet result. By then it's not valid anymore. You have to take a new Muet test. So
All
5 years.
5 years.
Yep.
Next question is from Nurwardina Safia. How long is Muet valid for, and can I take the Muet exam online?
Sorry?
How long is Muet valid for, and can I take the Muet exam online?
Okay. So again, Muet examination result. The result is valid for 5 years, starting from the date of the result. It's on the paper, and Muet cannot be taken online. You have to go to the centers to do the tests, not online. Okay.
All right. From Nur Shafika Shahira, she asked, my question is how Muet will be conducted. Can we take the Muet exam through an online platform or need to attend the examination center? Just answered. Madam just has answered the question just now. So next question will be what what must we do if we get blank and have no idea during Muet?
Sorry, again, the question?
What must we do if we get blank and have no idea during Muet?
I actually, I actually have this kind of students, candidates, where they call the examiners and then they ask for ideas. You can go to toilet, people. Some people get the best ideas in the toilet. This is probably a foolish tip for you, but you know what, just try it. If you're blanked, you don't know what to write about and you are sleepy, perhaps you are sleepy because you haven't taken your breakfast, you know what, take the time off, go to the toilet, just wash your face and just sit for a while, and then probably that will come.
And
Because if
selawat.
there you go.
Yes,
Selawat, banyakkan zikir. Maybe tak tenang, hati tak tenang kan. Tak
probably.
solat ke, subuh ke, I don't know. It's a personal matter. But if you were to go blank, my advice to you is to go to the toilet, wash your face, just freshen up. Maybe the tension is in the examination room. You see everyone writing, seorang minta kertas lagi. Padahal kertas tak pakai pun, minta letak bawah and then tak pakai pun. It's all very psychology thing, the environment, and you see that one writing like that kind of face, and then macam tukar pen lah apalah, and you are like, I don't have any idea to write. So you know what, just take the time off, go to the toilet, relax, and then come back. You should be okay. At least you are not that stressed. Okay, the best I can do is to give the advice lah. I can't
Absolutely.
say the examiner is going to give you the answer. Nah, they're not going to give you the answer.
So the next question is from Zikri Hakim. What are the ways of getting easy marks in the writing test? Like probably
Writing part, how to get easy marks.
Yes.
If you want to know, writing is where you can score more than reading and listening. Why? Because in reading, you are given multiple choice answers. So jawapan dia ada satu je yang betul. Kalau satu betul, itulah betul. Dia tak ada setengah markah, dia tak ada markah kesian, tak ada. And sama juga dengan listening. You have multiple choice answers. So once that answer has B as the correct answer, then A is not accepted, C pun not accepted. Dia tak akan kata Ada yang student jawab A, okay lah, boleh lah, bagi setengah. Nothing like that. So the good thing with writing is that write, just write. Okay, just write. Ada student tinggalkan kosong, itu sedih. Ataupun dia tulis satu perenggan je. That is so sad. You just write. You know, if you were to ask me, you just write, because in writing it is much easier for examiners to give you more marks, because the answer is subjective. Dia bukan objektif yang ada betul, ada salah. Okay, you just write according to what you think can answer the question. Okay, and of course I already mentioned another tip just now, buat outline. Buat outline. Kalau you buat outline, you akan selamat. Okay, buatlah outline macam mana cara pun. You nak buat macam mind map ke, you nak buat macam, okay, point pertama, bawah tu ada pecahan-pecahan. It's up to you. If you have an outline for your essay, then it is easier for you to write. Okay, sebab macam tak semua benda yang not all questions that you get is according to your, to your forte, to what you know ataupun you are expert in. Sometimes you get questions like, I don't know anything about this, but of course you have to answer it. You don't have any choice. So make that outline. It's going to help you. Okay, so outline and just write. Okay, jangan bagi satu perenggan, jangan tinggalkan kosong. Yes.
Write as much as you can. Alright,
Yes.
the next question from Muhammad Zubair Yunus. I am interested in taking Muet on demand using a computer-based test, CBT, but unfortunately I've been waiting for like a year now, and the registration website wrote that the method was still temporarily unavailable. May I know if this method will be available again anytime sooner?
I cannot answer that for you, because Muet on demand, you memang deal terus dengan MPM. You deal terus dengan Majlis Peperiksaan Malaysia, and usually you have to adhere to whatever it is that they set lah. Sebab macam the ones at the centres, kita hanya provide placing untuk budak yang nak buat Muet macam biasa saja. When on demand, of course, when you wanted something in urgent, so that means you have to follow whatever it is that they set lah. So if you were to say that they wanted to do it or start doing it online but have not yet, you should contact them. Okay, you should contact them, because with us we don't handle Muet on demand. Okay, so if you want to get more answers, you will have to ask them, call the number or email them. They are fast. They are actually fast in response with email. Try that. Okay. Sorry if I'm not helping that much.
Alright. The next question is from Amnani. She asked, what is the best way to achieve band 3 and above for a student who already took 2 times Muet but failed to get band 3?
Band 4.
Only 1 to 2 marks to reach band 3.
When you get your result, you will also receive indicators. So you will also receive in detail what you get for each of the component, right? For listening, how much you get. For speaking, for reading and writing, how much you get. So look at the ones where you have less marks. Ataupun maybe you can tackle with markah di mana yang tinggi tu you naikkan lagi, ataupun yang rendah tu you cuba perbaiki lagi. I have a niece who took Muet 3 times, and she is actually very good in English. It's subjective. She took Muet 3 times because she wanted to get band 5. Okay, but she couldn't get band 5 because her writing marks is not helping her. All right, but it's funny because she has a blog and in English, and her family is actually an English oriented family, where they talk in English, they play Scrabble. Hello, mana ada orang main Scrabble lagi sekarang kan? They play Scrabble with dictionary there when they are playing Scrabble, and she has a blog in English, but basically she's good in that language. But where did she do it wrong? You know, in that sense, 3 times taking that test and then still cannot score. So you look at the marks, which component actually shows that you have less mark, and try to see what is your weakness there. When you did the test, did you come across any difficulties and try to overcome that? So I think that, well, if I were to use the case of my niece, my cousin actually, um, she can write. She can write very well, but the kind of writing that she does is for blogging. It's not the kind of writing that is academic. So Muet, we require students to write academically. So we want to see the introduction. We want to see your points organized. We want to see it in paragraphs, and we want to see it in a language that can be understood by everyone and is not beating around the bush. Sometimes you have long sentences, but then you are not going to the point. There is no focus. So a lot of these things would probably be the weakness of and contribution to why the marks is low. Okay, so you tengok you punya markah, komponen mana yang paling rendah tu, you have to ni lah, you kena review. You kena review are there difficulties, were there difficulties when you were doing the test, and how you should overcome them. Okay? Right.
Alright, you have to identify your weakness and you have to improve. Okay, the next
Yeah.
question will be what is the importance of Muet for the future?
Okay. I used to be very proud of my Muet result, but not anymore because yelah dia dah tak valid kan, dah 5 tahun. Saya dah lama sangat belajar, tinggalkan. But Muet is an indicator. It is an indicator to show your proficiency level now that you are in university. Sekolah punya cerita dah tutup dah. So sekarang ni dekat university, awak dah terror tak cakap English. Macam tu lah. So Muet ni, if you were to bring this Muet result to, let's say you're going for a job interview and you put there band 5 ataupun band 6, tak ke macam orang tu rasa macam, oh, she has that good band, tingginya, the English is good. Well, it in a way is going to help you get jobs, get callbacks for interviews later kan. But of course, Muet is at Malaysian level. Okay, so this is helpful if you want to start a career, start looking for a job in the beginning in Malaysia. But if you want to improve yourself, you want to work for example, for international companies, kan, macam contohlah macam HP ke, contohlah macam Honda ke contoh, then I think that you should go one step further by taking IELTS. Because that is a totally different proficiency testing, right? But Muet, yes, it's good to show or to, to show people that this is my level. This is my level, and yes, I am a good English speaker. Okay? So it's supposed to give you confidence. Bila kita tengok band kita macam tu, contohlah dapat band 4 pun you dah rasa hebat kan? Then maksudnya you hebat lah. Okay, so that's why with the new system, kita tengok CEFR punya scaling tu kan, you akan nampak yang ada orang dia basic level, ada orang dia proficient, ada orang dia adalah independent. Maksudnya boleh je pakai language tu, tapi proficient, that means you memang hebat. Very similar to the first language speakers. Okay, it's supposed to give you confidence lah. Okay, alright.
Alright, next question from Muhammad Najmi Hakim. He asks, why did most of the Muet stations take place at the school?
Is it? Nah. Well, we have centers in in universities ada juga, college ada. But you have to look for it lah. But usually what happen is that in universities, biasanya kita memang cater kepada pelajar universiti tersebut saja, ataupun kalau college, pelajar college tu sahaja. Contohnya macam college matrix kan, kita akan entertain college matrix punya budak je. But kalau you adalah calon luar, biasanya kita minta you untuk join schools. Sebab sekolah budak form 6 tak ramai, and they need more people to to fill in the numbers of students ataupun candidates yang apply. Sebab itulah you nampak macam banyak sekolah, dia punya pusat banyak sekolah kan. Sebab college dengan universiti biasanya pusat tu entertain untuk student mereka sahaja. Okay, so yang lain tu you kena campak ke sekolah lah. Saya buat kat sekolah dulu. Well, because I don't like the competition in universities, so I go to schools. Ini lagi satu tip. I'm not sure lah kan. I'm not sure if this is relevant or it's absurd or not, but I took my Muet in a school. I took my Muet in a school because dia banyak calon luar, and calon luar ni bukan sahaja pelajar tapi orang-orang tua. So you actually have an advantage of showing that you are better than them. So that will give a good impression dekat examiner. I'm just saying, that's my 2 cents. But lain orang mungkin lain lah kan. Lagi?
Alright, this is like the questions from chat box. If I am not satisfied with my Muet result, can I make an appeal for checking or remarking of my Muet results?
Boleh.
But there's
Yes, you can.
there's like
Of
fee
course.
required.
Yes, of course. So, yang ni sama je macam UTM. Kalau you nak check balik result, boleh pun. You have to pay, and there will be a different examiner examining that paper. Orang lain yang akan examine you punya paper. Boleh, no problem.
Alright, cool. Next question is from Shafika. Hi, sorry for asking. If I retake Muet, then the result come out with the lower band compared to the previous, can I use the previous one instead? Instead of using the latest one.
Who are you trying to fool? The university or doing for the job interview? Kalau you pergi job interview, pakai je lah yang band paling tinggi tu. Why not? Tapi kalau, kalau untuk university, I guess you can't fool them. Sebab university they will receive the notification diorang ada dalam sistem. They can check whether you ambil Muet tu dekat mana ke, berapa you dapat ke, berapa kali you ambil. They have that information. So kalau you nak tipu tu, maybe university you tak boleh tipu lah. Tapi kalau you tipu pihak yang nak ambil you kerja, nak pergi interview, boleh. I'm not giving you the permission or macam kelulusan ke apa ke, but just on the harsh side, yes, I guess you can. University tak boleh, ataupun college ke tak boleh, sebab diorang memang ada dalam sistem. Benda tu dimasukkan dalam sistem once you dah dapat result.
Alright, so the next question is alright. How much is the fee for Muet?
Fee
Yeah.
Previously, the fee was RM100, but this time around the fee is RM150. 150,
Is that the same with Muet on demand?
Muet on demand, no. Muet on demand is 350.
Or would be higher. Alright.
Higher,
So,
because you expect the result much faster.
Alright, next question again. May I ask you, madam, if my place happen to be red zone due to COVID cases, what will happen to my Muet test? Is it will be refunded or perhaps postponed?
If you want it to be refunded pun boleh. If of course bila dah red zone and mungkin masa tu dah nak dekat waktu exam, biasanya always be in contact with MPM. You cakap you ada dalam red zone, ataupun you contohlah ataupun you ada dengue, ataupun you ada chicken pox. contoh you ada chicken pox, like it's not pandemic but it's chicken pox. So you cannot take the test and dia tiba-tiba datang kan. So you can actually ask to do the test. Mungkin you nak buat test tu, dia akan decide. They are going to decide whether they are going to refund ataupun you boleh postpone, ataupun you akan ambil test tu di mana awak berada lah. Contohnya macam mungkin you ada dengue, you dekat hospital. So you masih di hospital, so there will be, contoh you tengah nak buat reading test lah. Mungkin speaking dah habis, tapi nak buat yang listening, reading dengan writing tu, masa tu you dengue and you kat hospital, there will be an examiner who will be sent to that hospital where you are going to do the test. Dia akan jaga awak. Macam tu lah.
Alright. Next question is from Nora Tasha. May I ask, what is the minimum band should we get to continue our study for degree? It depends on university, I guess. And what courses, right?
Yes, depend on university, depend on the course. That's right. Betul.
Alright. Next question from Nurul Fatih Raza. If I wish to withdraw from sitting for Muet, will my test fee be refunded? If so, will I get the full amount?
You will be refunded but not the full amount.
So like how much they will get the amount of
That I'm not sure.
Alright.
But what I know is that you will not be refunded full. That's the latest one.
Alright. The next question, how to correct the spelling of the name and identify card number that are incorrectly printed on the Muet registration slip.
Oh, sorry. Yang pasal refund tu, you can be refunded, I think, at certain in a certain date before the examination start, if I'm not mistaken lah. Kalau dah dekat-dekat tu, kalau you tak nak ambil and you nak minta refund, I don't think you can. So make sure that when you are doing a refund, make sure that you do it early and not towards the date of the examination. Okay, Farhana, can you repeat the question again?
Alright, cool. How to correct the spelling of the name and identity card, number that are incorrectly printed on the Muet registration slip. There's an error on the name or the identity card.
Faham? Okay, there is a form. Ada form dekat website MPM. There is a form for you to fill in, and you are supposed to fill in with the ni lah, you kena mention apa yang tak betul and you nak mention apa yang betul, and then you kena buat bayaran untuk pembetulan. So that's why it's very important. This is another thing, make sure that bila you ambil Muet, you nak register, jangan tulis laju-laju. You dah type information you, baca balik. This happens many times already sebab yelah, saya sebagai the person in charge, I in charge of students registration, saya suruh student register sendiri. I will not key in your information. Korang yang akan tekan korang punya nama sendiri, nombor telefon, nombor IC. So whatever mistakes that you make is upon your own responsibility lah. So what you do is, dekat website MPM, you ada borang tu you akan isi, and then you akan kena buat bayaran pos, lepas tu you akan hantarkan ke MPM untuk buat pertukaran information tu. Sebab kalau tidak nanti you nak print slip you tak jumpa ke apa ke, masalah kan.
Alright.
So masa register carefully.
Next question is from Mizan. Can Madam tell us how to elaborate point during the 2 minutes? Probably like the individual presentation on speaking.
Okay. The individual presentation. Okay. For example, if I get a point where I have to present about, okay, macam tadi kan, yang candidate A tu dia punya point ialah when and what to eat. Okay, so how to live healthily. So that means you have to watch what you eat and when to eat. So kita akan pecahkan. When, you pecahkan lah. So kalau when, you should stick to eating 5 meals a day. Okay, 5 meals a day. That means your breakfast, your tea time, your lunch, and then your another tea time, and then your dinner. Okay, and in between you are supposed to drink a lot of water. So that is when. And then what to eat and what not to eat. So pecahan dia dekat situ dah ada. So what to eat. So basically more on the you can always supply. This is why you nak pakai, you pakaikan that pyramid of food. Eat a lot of carbohydrates. Eat and then you should supply more with fibers by eating vegetables and fruits. And then you can also add the lean meats like meat from chicken, meat from cows and whatnot. And then you are supposed to eat less of the dairy products. Contohnya kan. So you are going to explain when you eat, try to eat more fishes because they have more they have more omegas that actually help you to retain your body's health in a very long time. Okay, so bagikan satu contoh untuk setiap kategori. So yang bagusnya bila individual presentation ni you present, you bagikan contoh. So contoh macam tadi yang masa kan 5 kali waktu makan, 5 times a day eating. So start with breakfast. Well, people always say take breakfast like a champion. Ini saya dah present lah ni 2 minit eat like a champion. So usually people would make sure that when they eat breakfast, it consists of carbohydrate, it consists of protein. So carbohydrate maybe can come from whole meal bread, and then you pair it with protein such as turkey slice or maybe eggs, and make sure the egg is cooked healthily. Maybe you just boil the egg, and then you're supposed to eat something in between before lunch. Maybe you can eat nuts. Maybe you can eat nuts in order to just make sure that you don't feel hungry. And when it's lunchtime, you have to go back to making sure that your meal is balanced. You have to have your carbohydrates. If you like to eat rice, then you can eat rice or noodles and then pair it with protein. Blah, blah, blah dah. Full 2 minit. My point is for you to just keep talking. If you keep talking and there is point in what you are talking, then you will get marks. Saya cakap macam ni pun dah nak dekat 3 minit kot. Belum lagi saya cakap pasal macam minum petang, boleh cakap pasal makan malam. Belum lagi saya cakap apa yang patut makan, apa yang tak boleh makan kan. So, my advice to you when you want to expand the points that you have written, gunakan example. Use example. So for example macam tadi ada point candidate D tu, you need to have enough rest. So enough rest, satu point ni saya akan cakap the most important rest that everyone should have is a power nap. And usually a power nap is done during lunch hour or early in the afternoon. And some people would have a short power nap, for example like 10 minutes. But if you need more, sometimes people take their power nap from 20 minutes to 30 minutes. So you akan bagikan example. So I have an example of people who actually apply power nap in maintaining their health, which is Tun Dr. Mahathir. He uses power nap all his life, and look at where he is now. He is 90 years old and still considered healthy. Contohnya. So kita ada bagi contoh. So for you to expand, use example. Okay.
Alright. This is probably the last question where from Shafika. She asked that during speaking test, if I accidentally use different language, does it affect my mark?
Once is fine. Contoh, you kata cakap lah. Like that lah. Macam tu kan. Oh, that's fine. Tak apa. Sekali tak apa. Kalau kerap sangat, maybe we penalize a bit. Tapi kalau dia tak mengganggu you punya conversation terlalu banyak, kan, it's not that much lah, macam bukan 50-50 punya Malay, English ada interfere atau whatever language, then kalau kurang tak apalah, it's still based on the examiner's consideration, but try to avoid sebab kadang-kadang kita perasan, kadang-kadang kita tak perasankan, but jangan terus rasa macam bila kita cakap bahasa Melayu kan, yes I agree lah, lepas tu terus nak buat muka, lepas tu terus macam okay, demotivated. Don't feel like that happens, okay, that happens, no problem, okay, it's just that try to control yourself. Tapi kalau examiners nampak yang interference tu terlalu banyak, interference bahasa Melayu tu contohnya terlalu banyak, then maybe dia akan penalize sikit je lah, okay, don't worry, it's not that much. Unless you memang macam rojak lah, memang campur sangat bahasa Melayu dengan bahasa Inggeris,
Pasal betul.
besar lah sikit penalize dia tu kan.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's all for Q&A sessions.
Okay.
But this is like one comment. Just would like to thank the host and Madam Rosanna for your time tonight. Really appreciate this share on Muet. Welcome.
No problem.
All right. All right. I think that's all for Q&A session. So, ladies and gentlemen, as the saying said, to every beginning there's an ending. Our talk show is coming to the end. I am on behalf of the organizer Majlis Perwakilan Pelajar UiTM Cawangan Negeri Sembilan, Kampus Seremban. We'd like to thank all of you for coming and remaining with us during this event. I am especially thankful to Madam Emirzana for her cordial joining. It really proved encouraging for us. And I express gratitude to the organizer who works around the clock to make this program successful. I also thank all those who implicitly or explicitly became a part of this event. If in guiding this event I made a mistake or offended someone here, please forgive me. Again, thank you very much once again to our speaker and participant for making today's talk show more Maria. Before we end the sessions, let's take a group photo and please fill up the feedback form before you leave the event. With that, thank you for coming and stay safe. Good night and Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Alright, I think we should ready with the photography sessions.
Okay.
Saya kena kira.
Alright.
1, 2, 3. Alright. 1, 2, 3. Alright, I think that's all. Oh, ada Tasha.
Buka kamera.
Buka kamera Tasha. Okay, Tasha tak. Alright, I think that's all. Thank you again, madam. See you again.
Alright, welcome. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you the committee. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Alright.